Wonderful. Okay. All right, everybody. So I've got 6:01. So why don't we go ahead and call our meeting to order? We are here for our special commission meeting. Today is Thursday, November 7, 2024. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll for us?
Mayor Gross,
Here, sorry.
Vice Mayor Huntington,
Here.
Commissioner Amsler. Here. Commissioner Holland, Commissioner Kennedy.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Great. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's go ahead and do our Pledge of Allegiance, please. All right, thank you. So before we get started on public comment, I'd just like to congratulate Commissioner Huntington, Commissioner Kennedy, and our soon-to-be Commissioner Samaria on the election results from Tuesday. So thanks for all of your hard work. Thanks for running and putting on a good campaign. And we look forward to having our new commission seated as soon as able. If it's Tuesday, Tuesday it is. Okay, great. All right, so our special commission meeting here, the subject of which is going to be the appointment of our interim village manager. So let's go ahead and open up public comment. We'll start with the public comment here in the log cabin. And just as a reminder, please provide us with your name and address, and public comment is limited to 3 minutes. The mic issues continue. Hey, all right.
Thank you. Okay. Dan Samaria, 11530 Griffey Boulevard. First off, I'm looking forward to be serving with this commission on Tuesday, so I really look forward to that. I want to thank Commissioner Holland for taking my seat and, serving in my area. Okay. We need to pick up a temporary, I believe that we need to table hiring a temporary city manager till I get in on Tuesday, because I think as a commissioner, I should be able to make this selection. There is no rush to do this. We need to have a complete commission. We've had bad press in the past in reference to past administrations. So I think that we need to take our time picking the city manager. We have 10 applications because there was 12. That we need to study, do our job, and pick the right person. There's an article about the present temporary city manager that I think all commissioners need to read. So I think we need to really study this. I believe no temporary city manager should be making any decisions about firing, hiring, filling permanent positions, because he's not going to be there that much longer, and we're going to have a permanent city manager. Everything that the temporary manager does, hiring, firing, any decision, should be presented to the commission. So if you decide you're going to allow it, I think that any decision that a temporary city manager is making should be brought in front of the commission, because someone that is going to be in office for 30 days can affect the residents for the next 3 years. The present temporary manager has been in only 3 weeks, and there are alarming issues that this commission needs to investigate. I am not pro-police. I am pro-village and residents. So please don't rush. We as a commissioner need to do a better job in picking city managers. Again, there is no rush to do this. We do not need to have the media come to the village and do bad press on us. The Miami Herald was here at Biscayne Park today. I don't know if anybody knows that, but they were here today. In case you don't know, like I said, in case you don't know, the city, Miami Herald was here today doing a story. I don't know what the story was about, but they were here today. So what I'm asking is that this commission takes the time. We have 10 applications we need to look at. And we got in January hopefully is when we're going to be picking the next city manager. I believe, and again, Mr. Holland, Commissioner Holland's doing a good job, but I think that there's no reason not to wait until Tuesday until we have a full commission to do this. Again, thank you. So there's no rush really to do this. We need to do a better job in investigating. And I heard the commission say that they want it to be more thorough. So we need to be more thorough. There's no rush to be having a temporary city manager. If you're gonna have it, be sure you put guidelines that he can't do no firing, can't do no hiring, can't make any decisions that's gonna affect this commission. Because what he does in 30 days can affect the residents for 3 years. Thank you.
Any other comment here in the cabin before we move over to Zoom? Seeing none? Okay, we'll go ahead and turn over to Zoom. I think we have one.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes, it's Bob Anderson, 11905 Northeast 11th Place. And out of the applicants that you have, and I'm really grateful that we have a lot of applicants for this position, there's only one applicant that really has the true credentials. That's been a city manager of a couple of different cities, has been on one of our boards, has lived here for a very, very long time, is very well aware of the shortcomings that our city has, and that's Albert Childress. And my opinion is he is a top pick for being the interim manager. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other comments on Zoom before we move on? Seeing none? Okay. All right, thanks, everyone. So let's go ahead and move on and move into the portion. Are there any commission reply to public comment at this time before we move on to the selection?
I don't have a reply, but could I ask Brad a question, please?
Here. Good evening, everyone.
Hey, Brad. Brad Wiseman is our village attorney. Commissioner-elect Samari brought up a couple of points. Can you clarify for us the difference between an interim village manager and a village manager, and how we're allowed to dictate how their roles might be different?
Well, there really isn't a difference. Your interim village manager would be taking on the responsibilities of the manager until you place a permanent manager in that seat. With regards to Commissioner-elect Samaria's comments about putting restrictions on hiring, firing, managerial decisions, for lack of better terms, your charter specifically prohibits the commission from interfering with a manager's daily operations of the village, including employment issues. So
what Dan is suggesting would be a charter violation if we were to do that.
it would be, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted everyone who's listening to be clear on that. And I do want to make one reply to Dan directly. Dan, we do have a full commission. There are 5 commissioners sitting here on the dais. Commissioner Holland is serving in the full authority of the position this evening until you step in and get sworn in. So we do have a full commission here, and some of the things you're suggesting would actually be charter violations. So I just want to make sure you're clear on that. Thank you.
Do we have any other commission reply at this time before we move on? Okay. All righty. All right, so let's get into our discussion on the appointment of the interim.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I apologize.
Sure.
One of your applicants,
Can't hear you, Pamela.
the applicant, Mr. Stanley Hawthorne, no longer wants to be considered.
Stanley Hawthorne, he's withdrawn his name from,
Yes, sir.
okay, all right, great.
That's the one you emailed us about it.
Yes.
Okay.
Just wanted to put it on the record.
We
Okay.
also had an email, or at least I received an email,
From Mr. Patterson.
Mr. Patterson removing his interest in the position.
Okay. All right, so that's two that have voluntarily withdrawn their name from consideration. All right, so we talked a little bit about format, I think the last time we were all together. Um, I, and I'd like to keep this kind of an open discussion so we can all kind of voice our opinions on our selections. But the way that we've done this in the past is I think we've kind of gone down the commission line. We've kind of identified our top candidates. We try to find some uniformity within those choices. I personally foresaw this kind of happening the same way. I'm open to alternative opinions. But for anyone that's listening or may listen later, or anyone that's here that's not familiar with how we've done this in the past and why we've done it this way, is due to Florida sunshine laws. Of course, the commission can't discuss anything about any of the candidates or the position outside of a public meeting. So the way that we've done this in the past is we all do our diligence before we get here. We talk to candidates, we review resumes, we determine in our opinions what would be our top selections in nominating for the position, and then we try to find some uniformity and go from there. And I think that would be a good time if any of those candidates would like to speak. I know we have some of them here this evening with us, and I appreciate both those candidates that are with us on Zoom and those that are with us here in the log cabin. So that's kind of the way that I thought we would do it, and just kind of leave it open to anyone else. If anyone has an alternative viewpoint, I'd be happy to listen.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. All right. Anyone volunteering to get us started?
I'll go if you like. I'll go super quick.
Okay.
But first of all, I'm glad to see we got a bunch of applicants, and those who aren't considered this evening, I hope they apply for the permanent position in the coming months when the commission works on that. I will say that when I looked at the applications myself, I gave priority to the people who have either work experience and or live in the state of Florida, because it's a temporary position. And I'm going to make a comment about some policy stuff later if and when we talk to some of these candidates, and I have some questions that I'll be prepared to ask whoever we decide to talk to. In no particular order, the applicants that I would be interested in all of us looking at as a group are Lawless, Day, Sid, Childress, and Brown.
So Lawless, Day, Childress, and Brown. Is that right?
Sid, Childress,
Sid.
Brown, Day, Lawless.
Got it. Okay. Your list is very similar to mine. I will say that I kind of considered parameters very along those same lines. You know, by no means does it preclude anyone that we're not considering now to reapply for the permanent position. But I do agree that I think that for an interim role that could be as short as a month, 2 months, 3 months, could be as long as 6 months, that it's important that we do have some experience in both managerial positions and particularly down here in the state of Florida. So that's important. Based on that, let me just see. I think I had the same list, Mac. Sam, Seth. I did. I had the same list.
So you have each have 4 candidates in your list?
Yes.
So
You spoke up next, so you gotta go.
Okay. Thank you for everybody that I got the chance to speak with regarding this position, for the interest that you all showed for the village. I actually have 3 selected to move for the next round. Will be Childress, Manny Sid, and Mr. Brown.
I'll go. Mine's very much shorter. It's only 2 candidates. It's Sid and Childress. I weighed local very heavily. I also did some research on every candidate, and that's how I removed the other 3 of your candidates, Jonathan and Mac.
Last, John.
Similar thoughts to everybody else on the dais. For an interim position, clearly local is the way to go. Based on what I know about Mr. Childress, it's in my vote is his to lose. But I would again want to listen to anyone who is local and knows not just Florida, you know, Miami, knows our area. So that's where I'm leaning.
Okay, well, we have some uniformity. That's good. All right, so I guess at this point then, oh, go ahead.
I did have one question, and that was, at a previous meeting, there was talk of trying to make the salary more competitive. Does long-term salary budget shortfall factor into this at all? I would think that for the amount we're talking about, it probably doesn't mean, if a candidate's aiming for I'm just making up numbers, 160, and we approve 120, are they completely out of the running based on that, even for an interim role? Or are we willing to overlook that in the short term to get the best interim? Like, this budget getting, like, long way of saying, is budget a hard obstacle? Is it a hard stop? It's above a budget.
I mean,
I think that's part of the conversation we have to have. I mean, we agreed a certain amount, definitely on the budget, you know, and we made an increase, an increment to what we had before for the manager's position. So I think that I would consider that based on the candidates that we decide to go with and then negotiations after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Per your direction, the ad was advertised at 100,000 salary only, no benefits.
There you go.
For the interim.
So John, it's a different conversation when we hire the permanent manager, but for the interim position, we advertise an amount and they all know that's the amount.
And do we have a time frame that, I mean, those of you who've been through this before, is 6 months really the time frame we're thinking, or?
I think well, that's part of the discussion we have to have after we select an interim, but I mean, just in my own head, you know, if we're looking at a similar time frame, it'd probably be a couple weeks to put out the advertisement, a couple weeks to collect resumes. With the holidays, it probably at the earliest puts us into January at the earliest. Yeah.
I think that's a conversation to have once we select.
Yes,
because I
agreed.
have some
Sorry.
Different opinions of that, definitely.
Good point. Okay. All right. So I don't know if there's anywhere in particular we want to start, but we've all identified our current temporary interim manager with Mr. Childress. I'm sure we've all got an opportunity to work with Al over the last couple of weeks. Certainly, I'm grateful for him stepping in and helping us out in our time of need. I don't know that I have any, so I think the idea is just kind of, we'll work down through each commissioner with respect to each candidate. I don't know that I have any specific questions for you, Al. We've worked together already a little bit since you've joined us.
May I ask a procedural question, John?
Yeah, sure.
Before we just jump into Al, we have identified the short list for each of us. Might we now just whittle it down even further? It seems to me there are two names in common on every list. It's Childress and Sid. Might we just narrow it down to those two and start a process from there?
Yeah, so
If I may, I
go ahead.
kept an accounting of all of our tally, if you will. It's yeses for Sid for everybody, yeses for Childress for everybody. There are 3 yeses for Brown, so he could potentially still be in the running. Although me and Commissioner John Holland, sorry, we don't agree on that one. And then there are no yeses 3 yeses on the other candidates, so it whittles it down to 3 automatically there.
So
I'm very happy just to consider the two that we all agree on and go from there. And if we don't come to some agreement there, we could always go back and look at someone else. But
yeah, so you
there's commonality there.
yeah, I know, I agree. You kind of took the words out of my head. I started the process without, I think, speaking it into existence well enough. The reason I started with Al was because we all 5 had Al, and the next idea was to go with Mr. Sid here. So yes, so let's do that. So let's start with Al. So that's where I got started, Al. So my apologies. Let me back up. Al, we've had an opportunity to work together a little bit. I don't know that I have any specific questions for you. You know, you brought your experience already to it. You know, your experience kind of precedes you, and you live here in the village. You've done it before. You've got the experience, and I guess I'd really just open it up to any questions or any of the commissions that they'd like to ask you in this format. So I guess we'll just start down here and go this way, if that's all right. Yes,
Yes,
please.
please. Is it okay I call you Al? Everybody calls you Al, so I'm going to start calling you Al. I've been calling you Mr. Manager, very formal. Working. There you go.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you so much so far for what you've done. It's been how long? Couple weeks? 3 weeks?
Yeah, almost a month now.
Phew. Flies, right?
Right.
So considerable amount of time for, I'm sure, a lot of stuff that you got the opportunity to see across the different departments. And I think in the interactions you and I have had already, I can already tell those years of experience you've had and you've accumulated across the different job positions you've held. So I'm very comfortable speaking with you. I feel very well advised when we speak. And I've always found for you to be very proactive and sort of giving an answer or researching about an answer to a question that I might have. So for that, I'm very appreciative, and again, for stepping forward for the temporary interim position. Now, moving forward, I think one thing I'm going to ask both of the candidates that seem to be listed, Mr. Sid being one of them here as well, they'll talk next, is how do you see yourself long-term? And this is something I asked of you, over the phone. So this is an interim position. Is the village in your plans long-term, and why, sort of in your path of career that you've done so far?
Right, so Commissioner, when you asked me that question, I had told you that I think as the interim position, I think it's a great opportunity for the interim city manager, village manager, to get a feel for the village, and for you to get a feel for the interim, for the manager, and to make sure it's a great fit before you go on further down the path and select the village manager. Some cities, when they're selecting the interim manager, they let it be known that that position is just that, an interim village manager, and that that applicant cannot apply for the permanent position. They're only selecting that person for the interim. So I think that's the decision you need to make as a whole, if that's what you want, or if you're looking for the interim manager to also be able to apply for the long-term position. So I would certainly, if it's a good fit, if it's going to be a good marriage, I certainly would apply for the long-term position. I'm as has been said, my wife and I have raised our two boys here. This is our family. This is our home. We've been in the village over 40 years. We will continue to want to make it a great place to live.
Thank you. And just bringing this questions back up, because I think they're important at the end of the day, and they are important for me, and I want to make sure that's on record. And so there is an opportunity for you to do this long-term, and that's huge. In terms of so far, the fit that you've had this past month, if you can give a little bit of sort of your experience through the village so far, if you can.
Well, I think, first of all, you got a great city attorney. He really knows his stuff. He's got a great experience. He knows the workings of a government and what the charter says, what the statutes say. Has guided me along the path in this last 30 days, and he's a great source of information. And the village clerk too, has been able to help me. I think the rest of your department heads, they're very hardworking employees. We've got a great staff. I think there's areas that need improvement. There's some things that are broken that need to be fixed. We have talked about the SOPs.
Yeah.
And I found some surprises in the last 30 days that we've had to deal with. But there's some challenges ahead. I'm aware of those challenges, and we're willing to take them on.
Wonderful. And if I may, the last questions for me would be, so what's considered an interim manager? So some people speak about 3 months, 6 months. What, in your opinion, is the relatively needed time for an interim manager to be able to have in order to look for that permanent position?
Well, I think we also talked about this. So the board needs to decide, what they want to do, a national search or just a statewide search, or leave it to just South Florida. So if you're looking to do South Florida search, it's not as complicated. If you're doing a national search, that's going to be a little more extensive. If you just limit it to the state of Florida, also less complicated. But I think you need to decide too, if the interim village manager is allowed to apply for the long-term position, for the permanent position. It's kind of a conflict for that person to be sitting and going through the process and reviewing some of the applications. So you're going to necessarily have to go out with an outside vendor to review the applications and review the backgrounds, making the recommendations to you. And that's going to take some time. So I'm looking at maybe 3 to 6 months if you're going to go that route.
Perfect. Thank you. That's it for me for now.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Commissioner. Mr. Manager, I already mentioned I don't really have too much to ask you here tonight. We've already kind of established a pretty good working relationship. We've been keeping each other up to date on the things that are happening, and I appreciate it. Mostly, I very much appreciate your willingness to step in our time of need and lend us the benefit of your years of experience, and not just your years of experience in the managerial position, but your years of experience as a resident, which is really helpful. So I very much appreciate it. You know, I certainly wouldn't put a name forward tonight if I wasn't comfortable with that individual serving in the position. So as of now, I don't have anything to ask you with the commission here this evening. So I'll go ahead and pass it along. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
No questions at this. I've known Al, obviously as a resident and also our family, so. I have some shared past experiences. His wife and my father used to work together. Kimberly Heyman.
Yes, some years ago.
So families go back. I have no questions at this time, except you don't want to run for the hills. That's a good sign.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. You think obviously it was healthy to hear you say that staffing is good, things are working, but you identified some things that are broken and that you would want to tackle. You've already identified. That's a good mix of positive response and also like David, things to go after, but not nothing, no alarm, red flag.
Thank you.
Al, I also don't really have any questions, but I just want to say that I did not know you before this process. When we lost our manager, I went out and researched and looked for a good interim solution. I was directed your way rather quickly. You came highly recommended by locals, local village managers, retirees in the field. And I listened to what our residents said through the budget process when they advocated for, and they pushed us to fund an experienced manager, pay more for experience, pay more for a local person who knows our laws, knows the state of Florida, knows how to manage in Miami-Dade County. Here's somebody who does know that. And what I've learned through the last 30 days is experience counts. Real experience counts. I heard that someplace along the last month or so, but experience counts and real experience counts. So I really don't have any questions. I just say that my eyes have been opened in the last month to all the changes we should have been making in the past, and I'm excited for the changes you could bring to this village in the future.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Al. A couple of quick things for you. So Al and I have been meeting regularly and talking a lot, and we have a great relationship already, I think. So he's kind of the one to beat for me here tonight as well. So thanks for filling in for free. The free part was really nice for a while, and that's going to change here, I'm going to guess, soon. Talk to us about Key West. Just for the record, can you tell us what went down there? You were the city manager there for a year. I know that your livelihood can be a volatile kind of a thing, and you operate at the whims of people like us. Can you just kind of tell us what happened down there? You were there for a year.
I was there approximately 14 months.
Okay.
So I had a contract for a 4-year contract, and the commission, I had an evaluation in June. No, it was in April. We had a June meeting. I thought everything was going well. A few weeks after that, I got a call that there was 4 votes to terminate the contract.
Is there anything that we should know about that is nefarious in any way, or is it just what was going on in the commission.
I think that's a private conversation I would have with you.
You are applying for the full-time job, so that was one of my questions for you. That is your intent, correct?
Yes, if you desire to see me apply for that,
Talk to me about an interim manager and their role in policy changes. We talked about, hiring an interim manager, and I think I'm the one that used the phrase, keep the lights on for us until we hire a permanent manager. This is all happening at the very beginning of a budget, a new fiscal year for our budget. Everything's fully funded. We're all excited. We decided what things we want to get done, and we threw money at them, and we're anxious for that to get done. But an interim person, is stepping in, not having the history of that and not being part of that process. What, in your opinion, how should that work? How should an interim manager engage with the budget for the things that we're trying to get done for the year, and specifically and separately in terms of policy changes, implementing policy changes?
well, I think whoever's sitting in that seat, whether it's for 3 months or permanent or whatever, that person, as you just heard from your village attorney, should follow the charter and follow the ordinances and follow the direction that's giving at the monthly commission meetings. So that's what I would do as the interim village manager.
Communicate back to the commission,
Yes.
tell us what's going on.
Do the
Seek our
LTCs,
counsel and advice on things, and
LTCs and keep you informed. Yes.
yeah, got a couple of LTCs recently. That was nice.
Right.
Okay. I spoke with one of your former colleagues at length yesterday I had to end the call. I said, Trish, I can't talk anymore. I'm sorry, I got to go. Trish Walker thinks very highly of you. Trish Walker, for those of you who don't know her, is a very long-term village resident as well. She and Al used to work together. Maybe you could tell us how you know Trish and what you guys did together.
She was the CFO and in charge of the budget for Miami Beach. And Miami Beach has over 2,000 employees, and I don't know how huge that budget is. I think it's,
Bigger than ours.
yeah, it's way bigger than yours. I think 900 million or something. But she also had prior experience. She was ran the airport for Broward County, and she's long-term, has lived in the village longer than my wife and I have lived in the village. And she's a great person. We used to commute together because we live so closely. So we got to know each other over the years, and she's she has a great experience in financing and local government. And over the years, I've called her when I've gotten stuck, and she has great experience with bonds, and I would call her for advice on bonds too. So
She's a very accomplished person who happens to live in a village, retired and living a very low-key lifestyle now.
right.
I've tried to get her involved in some things, and I was shot down every time. But I was very happy to talk to Trish yesterday and hear such good things about you.
Right.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you, guys.
Mr. Mayor, if you might, can I respond to that?
Yeah, sure.
Commissioner Kennedy, I have a question to ask you, actually. Since you brought up Key West, did you happen to watch the meeting where he? Okay, I just want to say that I watched it as well, and what I saw in that meeting was the outpouring of support from residents, which is vitally important in this village. And we hear all the time that to be out and engaging with the residents is huge. And to me, that was something that I watched every second of that meeting, and I loved seeing the residents that came out in Key West and talked about Mr. Childress and how they loved him in that community. So I just wanted to point that out as well.
Brian, I wasn't going after him on that.
But I just wanted, I
People are aware of it, and it came up in public comment tonight, and I wanted to give Al a chance to address it. That's all.
Figured it
That's
should-
fine.
And as the only member of the Deus family roots in Key West, I can say, not surprising. The Bubba system,
Yes.
this is par for the course. Good people trying their best, doesn't work out because you've just rubbed certain people the wrong way. I am stating that for the record. That's how my hometown works, so, 5 generations. So, people don't always do things by the books down there, and sometimes that's what people do.
Thank you.
Mr. Manager, thank you very much for your time. I don't think we have anything else for right now, so we'll keep the discussion going, but thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, so our other candidate, Mr. Sid, would you take a step up for us?
Good evening.
Thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and turn it over so we can do the same thing that you just saw. So Commissioner, go ahead.
Thank you for being here. It was great to speak to you the other day and get to know you a little bit better. You have an impressive resume. But this would be your first position as a city manager, right? So if you can talk a little bit of the background as to why and how you got here to Biscayne Park.
So I really became enamored with public service, but I don't, not only the policy side, the administrative side of things. So Miami Lakes is very unique. It's, I think, the only contract city in Miami-Dade County, very similar. We follow the model in Weston, where the vast majority of our services are contracted out. We're 35,000 residents, and we have about 30 employees. 35 employees, 8 of those are crossing guards. But as mayor, I played a very important role in the contract city portion. I was the final say in dispersing any funds to any contractor over $5,000. So my 8 years maybe dispersed over $100 million in various contracts. And what that did for me was force me into the performance management side, right? So I did everything from cleaning the drains with our teams to see what was going on, to driving, going to check out our teams, our contractors that were cutting the grass, to our teams at midnight, our police officers that were at the midnight shift, rode with them, was with our teams as well when we would drive around checking out the light bulbs. So that really sparked in me, because I did the public policy side for a long time. I was an aide in the Florida legislature for 7 years, had a chance to write several state laws, appropriate money in a multi-billion-dollar budget. But in that process in Miami Lakes really pushed me to see public service in a different light, and that's why I applied today. I saw Biscayne Park as a community very similar to mine, where you all have tree-lined streets, very tight-knit, where everybody knows each other. And I really liked that, and when I saw it pop up, I thought it'd be a good segue in my public service career to continue that and add some value here to the village.
Thank you. And you had a term for how long were you serving at Miami Lakes?
12 years,
12 years, and it just ended on Tuesday.
Tuesday at 11:59 p.m.
Well, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
I'm sure everyone's appreciative of that. So I don't have a lot of questions. I think you and I spoke a bit, and I'm clear on your profile. I think what the question mark here is you're jumping on to the other side of the table with the understanding of what it feels on one side. That was sort of our experience with our previous manager as well. He was a commissioner in his own town. He didn't have experience, but you definitely have South Florida experience, and you certainly have contacts. And, we've seen each other here and there. I'm pretty sure in the League of Cities, we never really talked in detail, but I find your experience, your contacts, your background, and your interest in the village very interesting. And I appreciate you for being here. And I'm just going to leave it at that for right now.
Thank you.
But thank you. Thank you again.
Good evening, Mr. Sid. How are you?
All is well.
Excellent.
We have a beautiful village hall here.
Well, thank you. It is. It's quite unique and
It
quite
is.
special to us here. So kind of as a follow-up to one of the questions that Commissioner Amsler had asked is, and you answered it a little bit, how you kind of see the change in the role between kind of the elected side versus the managerial side. And I'm just kind of curious in hearing your perspective on how you foresee kind of changing that position from moving from the policy side to kind of the carrying out the policy side. How maybe if you could just kind of talk to us a little bit about how you feel that will go and how you plan on kind of attacking just a different role kind of within a similar system.
Look, the first thing I would do is look at your strategic plan and really focus on that. Where I left Miami Lakes. We started a strategic plan 10 years ago, 90% either done or in progress in our community. That's over 100 plus projects. And to me, the segue would be very easy because of two very important aspects. I used to be a staffer, but also I own a business where I am everything. I'm HR, I'm the administrator, I manage 20 staff members. We do relatively well. So for me, moving into the management role would be a seamless transition, especially knowing how important it is to see through a strategic plan and to focus on strategic planning. And I think that's the most important part in the success of any city, of any village, of any town.
It's very true. I mean, that's impressive to hear that you get 90% of the way through through your strategic plan and those efforts. I appreciate that. Thank you. Just kind of curious with Miami Lakes, how, of course, Miami Lakes is a little bigger than we are. How reliant or how much did you depend on in Miami Lakes on like state funding or county funding of certain projects? Because of course, you know, we're all residential, our money all comes from taxes. In that aspect is something I think we want to lean a little bit more on, or we'd like to see some more production in that area and raising money from sources where it becomes available. So could you talk to us a little bit about how much Miami Lakes relied on those kind of alternative sourcing methods or funding sources, and your experience in kind of creating those relationships, or personally how you've been involved in kind of gathering those monies for the benefit of Miami Lakes?
So I'll start on the county level. When I was elected, I saw an issue with the PTP, with a half-cent sales tax. We had a set route. We had 2 buses on a set route throughout town. We were forced to pay for it in that fashion and to have it a set route. Nobody rode the bus, and I started questioning that until I realized the only way to change it is for me to go to the county and make the change. I went to go see my commissioner at the time. He said, Manny, if you help me write it, if you go put in the work, I'll help you. And I was the one that wrote the change to the PTP through the CITT that allowed cities to have first mile, last mile, and on-demand solutions. Hence why every city now in South Florida, in Miami-Dade County, most cities follow our lead, and they have on-demand solutions, and ridership increased 500% in the town, and also in Miami-Dade County through the impact fee process. One of the opportunities I see for the village is that there's a lot of development around you all, and I think the conversation on the county level should be, you all need a piece of the pie when it comes to the impact fees, transportation impact fee dollars, because people are cutting through the village. So that money should stay here. I was able to do that successfully in Miami Lakes, where we were able to negotiate with the county to keep a lot of the impact fee dollars in our community, which it's a major issue. And on the third side, I was able to write a countywide charter amendment that allowed cities to manage special taxing districts and whatnot. And we kept a lot of the funds local. We were able to increase the services to our residents while lowering the costs for lake maintenance districts and guard gate districts. On the state level, very successful. Obviously, when I got in, I had an advantage. I was an aide for 7 years. So when it came to working through the process, we created a lot of great relationships from the governor all the way down, and our state senator, our state representative. We brought in historic amounts of money to the town, millions of dollars every single year. And the reason why we were successful is that before we asked for the money, we made sure that we started the planning process. So that way, when I went to my state senator, my state representative, and the governor, we were shovel ready. And I told them, look, and it made us very competitive when compared to many other municipalities. And now going to the federal level, one of the things that helped us with when Congressman Mario Diaz-Balart was the chair of Transportation Appropriations federally on the House side, I'll never forget, he asked Miami-Dade County for a plan. There was no plan, and he wasn't able to deliver hundreds of millions of dollars to our community. But you know who had a plan? We had one. We called him, and he delivered $3 million to finalize the largest transportation project in the town that I left it fully funded in our community with various projects. So working with our partners is really important, but also showing them that we have the wherewithal to deliver on the promises that we're asking them to make on the legislative side.
That's great. Very detailed. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Mr. Sid, I don't think I have any other questions, but I appreciate, again, you being here. I appreciate you being interested in the position, and that was very informative. Thank you very much.
Don't have any questions, just a few comments, all positive. First of all, thank you for coming, thank you for your interest. Please apply for the long-term position because I still think Al might, I'm kidding. But this, you know, you never know. So if it doesn't work out tonight, please apply for long-term. I think you have a solid background. Thank you for your service in Miami Lakes. I mean, I don't know how you guys do it. I really don't. So thank you. And I think you're on a good trajectory. And stay in the game, please, because you definitely know you seem to have a well-informed, speak well, you present well, and you know what you're talking about. So if this doesn't work out, I'm fairly certain something else will for you.
Thank
Even if it's something that you do on your own, like a senior shingle and do some consulting. To have a good hand.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Sid. A lot of my questions have been answered already, but one I want to touch on, you touched on a little bit. You're a small business owner, correct?
Yes.
Mayor's Cafe?
Mayor's Cafe.
I know that's a demanding job. You said you're the HR, you're the manager. I even said on your website, you bus tables at times.
I do.
This is a 24/7 job. Talk to me a little bit how you're going to balance being a small-time business owner and meeting the demands of village manager, which could, you know, long nights, weekends. How are you going to manage that work relationship?
I have 2 partners, and I've already talked to them. If I were to get this position or any other position in public service, I'd hand off all the duties to them, and they take care of it with our current manager that we hired. And I made sure that we created a lot of internal processes so they can stay in place and there wouldn't be any hiccups. But I would not be obviously bussing tables or cooking anymore. This would be my full attention, and I would hand off 100% of those duties to my partners.
May I call you Manny?
Of course.
You have to call me Mac. If you say Commissioner Kennedy, I'm going to correct you. So Manny, thank you very much. They asked a lot of my questions already, but I have a couple of real quick ones. You mentioned with great pride your strategic plan in Miami Lakes. Have you taken a look at ours? And if you did, what comments can you make about it?
Very briefly, look, the plan is very different to every city. So I wouldn't compare it to Miami Lakes because it wouldn't be fair in terms of size. But we went through a very lengthy process. I mean, we did first started off with a community survey. We brought in a firm and we did an actual scientific survey that helped us identify the residents' priority first. Then we had 2 weekend long retreats with all of our staff members. The residents could sit in, but it was primarily that, and that point was our staff members and the council. We were in a room for about 48 hours total, and we figured it all out, put it together. But the most important part was that helped us be successful. We branded it. We called it Imagine Miami Lakes 2025. We put it on a website. The other part was bringing it alive to our residents. So we were able to get the entire plan, stick it into a GIS map where now every resident can see projects within close vicinity of their homes. And that helped create a lot of trust and a lot of buy-in to this process. And it was to the point where if you would click on one of the buttons next to your house, you would see the plan, you would see the progress going forward, you would see the final dates of that project, and you can ask the staffer who's supervising that project any questions. And that part actually wasn't that expensive. We worked with our planner. The website was relatively cheap, but that was a very cheap way, affordable way to create trust in the community and show folks, hey, this is what we're doing.
So you applied for an interim position. It's a short-term position. What were your plans? I know you ran for county mayor. What were your plans starting on Wednesday when you knew your term was going to end before you found out about our temporary position?
really no plans. I'm not gonna lie. When I do something, there's no plan B. Because I always feel that if you have a plan B, when I was mayor or when I ran for office, that you wouldn't give it your all for your plan A. So that's why I started looking in the last several weeks as to what that next step would be. When I saw the advertisement, I said it makes sense, and it's a good segue.
And the other questions were asked and answered. I appreciate it. Thanks.
If I may jump.
Yeah, of
one
course,
more. I
of course.
think One of the things you and I spoke about, and I asked you, and I want to put it for the record for the rest of the commission to hear, is your consideration for long-term in this position. One of the things, at least I mentioned, is important for me, it's continuity. We haven't had that. We have our third manager in 2 years. So that's really put us behind in terms of getting that strategic plan going. And you and I spoke a little bit of what that meant. If you can just talk about your commitment to a village of this size and the position, the salary that obviously does not compare to the county and it does not compare to many other cities long-term.
Look, I think it's important to make a long-term commitment. I'd be okay making a 3 to 5 year commitment to see that strategic plan move forward and get out the station, which I think is the hardest part. I mean, once you get the plan moving and all the projects, after that, it's just, overseeing the entire plan. But, and to me, very transparently, my kids go to school not too far from here. One of them starts high school next year. The other one's a sophomore. I have a 2-year-old and a 4-month-old, so my wife and I are very busy. But this is when her and I spoke, I told her, I go, look, if I were to get it, I would like to see a long-term commitment, and she said yes. So I got the buy-in at home, and from my end, I definitely be committed long-term, 3 to 5 year basis at the minimum, just to help you all move forward on that strategic plan, because I think that's the recipe for success for a municipality of any size.
Yeah. And my last one, if it's okay. And I think we spoke about that as well. You don't have, it's not how do you say? It's not the strong mayor position in Miami Lakes. So you have the same power than the rest of the commission per se. And I think the question I was trying to differentiate when you and I were talking about, you constantly said we did this, and we did that. And there is a difference right now, which is the execution part versus the legislation part. And you depend on a team to do it. So how many employees were in Miami Lakes, and what was your incidence? Because my understanding is just like we do here, we rely on the manager to do actually the things, right? We put the vision together, we follow through, we provide the oversight, but the staff is the one actually doing things. So just trying to differentiate from being the one that has all the ideas and maybe, putting it together with the rest of the commission, coming to a consensus and building legislation versus actually doing it. How would you say that would look for us that we don't know you, right? We just seen you from one side. And together with staff, how would you make that jump to action?
So it was very unique, and I mentioned the role that I played in contract management in terms of dispersing funds, and that was a vast majority of the service delivery model that we had in Miami Lakes. But when I was elected, one of the things that I would do, and the manager and I worked very closely on this, I would visit every staffer, every director, almost on a weekly basis, and asked how I can help. If there was an issue in Miami-Dade County, if one of our plans for an outfall into one of the canals was stuck, I would get on the phone with them right there with staff, with everybody, and work it through. I would go visit the county. We had an issue with police. We contracted with Miami-Dade County. I went to go see all the administration and the county mayor at the time, and I was able to negotiate all those changes that Palmetto Bay and Cutler Bay also benefited from. So my role was on the accountability side and on the leadership side. And I was able to create an environment where our staffers knew that we had their backs, that I had their backs, not only on the dais, but on the day-to-day challenges that existed at the city. Look, when we had the incident command structure, when ICS came through and we had Hurricane Irma, I was the one sleeping at City Hall. Our staff, our manager, and our deputy manager, they slept at a hotel, and I stayed sleeping inside of City Hall because our residents would call. It was 1, 2 in the morning. They were calling. Power was out. I was out in the street with our police officers at 2 a.m. right post-storm, making sure that our community was safe. And that was the type of role that I played in Miami Lakes on the contract side, which was a contract management side, where the burden fell on me and not on staff in terms of being the final say on every contract, but also on the leadership and accountability, which is very similar to the management side, to make sure that things happen every day.
Got it. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Sid, I think that's it from the commission for now. Very much appreciate you being here and spending some time with us and answering some of our questions. So thank you again for the interest. Thanks for being here and thanks for putting up with us.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I don't know that we need to go beyond the first two for now. But look, I'm prepared to put forward a motion. And I will preface this on the fact that, again, we're here for the interim role. This is not the permanent position. So with that said, I would put forward Mr. Childress to serve in the interim position while we consider a permanent manager. So
I'll second that. I was hoping Ryan was going to get to make the motion since he's the one who flushed him out for us. Jonathan.
I was letting him finish talking. My mic was already on. Interrupt the man.
Apologies then. Symbolically, I'll defer to, I'll let the vice mayor have the motion then. So before we vote on the motion, just a point of procedural order. Brad, if you're still with us.
I am.
So
I haven't left
as
you yet.
far as, sorry, go ahead.
I said I haven't left you yet.
Excellent. Well, thank you. As far as procedurally where we go from here for the interim contract for Mr. Childress, assuming we get consensus on that, how does this work? Will we be asking you to draw up the contract for Mr. Childress? Can you just remind us of the process, please?
So, yes, so if Mr. Childress is the will of the commission, the parameters are pretty much been set. In the advertisement, I would draft a contract for his position as the interim, provide it to Mr. Childress. He could review it, obviously provide any comments or proposed edits. We would go, and then once we have Mr. Childress and I have a final product, we would put it on the agenda for the village commission to consider and approve.
So we could possibly get that done for Tuesday even.
Is that doable, Brad?
Can it be added to that agenda?
Assuming there's no modifications and changes, we could get it done for Tuesday.
Possibly. Okay.
Then I guess the point would be to get started. And if there are any changes or modifications or anything we need to talk
A question for Brad.
Sure.
Brad, all the other benefits go along with this or just the pay? That's the first question. And the second question is, Al had mentioned some trips that he's taking to me, and I asked him to put that in writing for us, and I got it today. Did we all get that today? Okay. How is that handled for an interim manager? He's taking several, they're not very long vacations, but they're significant vacations in the next couple of months. Of course, we don't know if he'll be in the interim position that entire time. So how does that work?
So is my understanding, unless you all direct me otherwise, the interim position is a salary position of $100,000 with no benefits. So you would have, whether or not whether he takes vacation with pay, that would be a benefit. You would have to, something that if Mr. Childress is asking for that is something that you would have to give me guidance on as to whether or not that is something that you all have a consensus on. If not, then he would take vacation. And he would have to appoint an interim, an acting, or I should say, an acting interim in his absence. And if there's no benefits, he has no annual leave, then he doesn't get paid for the time that he's not working at the village.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted all that clarified, and we just also need to clarify the vacation time. When I talked to Al about it, he said it would be taken without pay. Al, you understood, you volunteered that's how it would work. Okay. So I just want to make sure we're all clear on that going into it. So it's salary, no other benefits, and vacation without pay. And some of those vacations may not apply because we may have hired a permanent replacement by then. I think the farthest one out, Al, was in June. I think in June,
May.
May.
Okay.
And I think if Mr. Childress is the desire of the commission with regards to any vacations he has, you as a commission would have to, give him some guidance as to how you want notice. I understand he's given you some notice already, but how you want notice from Mr. Childress as to when he's not going to be at the village, that he's unavailable, so that you all are.
Yeah, he did that today, I think.
Yeah, yes, you're right. We have a letter from Mr. Childress outlining the days that he's planning on of not being here in the village. So I think we have that taken care of, Brad.
Yep. And if when he's out, he would appoint an acting, he would notify you all who the acting is, and we would continue to do business as normal.
I trust you be able to handle that then. Okay, great. Brad, thanks for the pointer on the procedure.
And can I ask one other thing related to that? Not to be a stickler, but we have gotten kind of a little bit, I don't want to say burned is maybe a hard word, but we've gotten sort of caught off guard by some of these things in the past. Al, you gave us, it's 3 total vacations that you're taking between now and May. Is that correct? 1, 2, 3. I'm thinking your destinations, because I like hearing about your cool destinations. Do you have any other plans to take any other vacations or any other time off for any reason? Because that's a little chunk of time already in that short period of time, and I'd want to know that that's kind of the extent of it. That's it. Okay.
Okay. Are there any other questions before we
Yeah, I wanted to circle back to, I don't know, before we have, I know we have a motion on the floor, but before we vote, to the time frame of this. I know we suggested 3 to 6 months. In my opinion, I think we should be looking longer term, at least 1 year, to give an experienced manager, we're bringing on a manager with this experience, to give him time in the job to really fully fledge out all the problems we have, what needs to be changed, and to make those changes. Even if he is only here for a year, it gives us it gives him an opportunity to really digest the job, gives us an opportunity to experience how he is as a manager and make sure that's a happy marriage. But we also get a huge benefit from it, that a lot of those problems that a non-experienced manager that we just experienced prior doesn't have solutions for, he will have solutions. He will fix the problems. He will fix the SOPs while he's here during that 1 year.
let me just make sure I understand. You're saying to have to, I guess, not direct or dictate, but state that the contract for the interim position is for a full year. Is that what you're saying?
There's many benefits to me. I see 1, it gives him more time to fully fledge out problems and solutions. And it also, we discussed many times how we rushed into hiring last time. We won't be behind the 8 ball when it comes to a hiring situation. We only have 3 to 6 months. It lets us extend out that period, do our due diligence, and make sure we select a great candidate. If we automatically pigeonhole ourselves to 3 to 6 months, in my opinion, we're in a rush situation we are in the last time.
So the way that I understand what you're saying, but I think the way that I saw this playing out, the permanent position, was that we set timelines not for how long there will be an interim position, but how long the advertisement will be out, how long we have to collect resumes, how long we have to review. I'm sorry, I have my back to you. How long we have to review them and then interview. And look, if we come to a meeting where we've reviewed all of them, if we all come to a meeting and we say, gee, we're not crazy about any of these candidates, or we're not comfortable just yet getting this person in the permanent position, we just keep going. So it could be, if hypothetically speaking, we find some unicorn, somebody shows up in January and we're like, this person's going to be great. Al, this is hypothetically, all right? Hypothetically. Somebody comes in, we say, wow, this person is fantastic. We cannot let them out of our grasp. Like, then, we don't want to, have Al beholden to a year contract where we then have to, okay, we got to terminate you early. We got to look for somebody. I think it's more open-ended, that it could be a year. But I just don't think
Could be longer.
I just don't think we commit to that. I think we just start the process. And then we go through our diligence as we see fit. And then we determine if there's a candidate candidate that we all like enough, and Dan will be here with us as well, that we all agree on and that we select. So I understand what you're saying, but I think the procedure and the process is probably going to be the same without setting any specific deadlines to when we have to select a permanent. I
I understand your intent. and there's value to that. But I'm going to agree with Jonathan here. And to be clear, we didn't rush through the process the last time. We ran a process and we found someone that we thought was the right person. And we found another person who's sitting here in the front row who we thought was also a great candidate. And I just heard from someone who I'm sitting there watching and thinking, man, we might really benefit from that gentleman as well. So we didn't rush through a process. We ran a process. There was never a deadline to hire someone. It was never hire someone in the next 3 months. It was only get the ad out by this date, collect resumes through this date, run it through a process, and see what comes out. And we found someone we were happy enough with to, I think it was a 4-1 vote initially, and then it became a 5-0 vote at the end. But I think it benefits us to have it be open-ended and start a process, because we don't know who we're going to find. And there are some other candidates here and that might come up as well, and we don't know who else is out there looking or might be looking after the holidays, which is kind of a time when people start looking for jobs. They're going to make changes. People don't look during a holiday time. So I'm very happy, be interested to hear what the rest of you say, to hire him. Basically, it's until further notice, until your services are no longer needed. He's clearly going to apply for the job. So it might be that we run the process and hire him as the permanent manager in January or February. So it might be that might be the case. It might not be interim. He might be the permanent guy at that point. So I'm going to go along with Jonathan on this one.
I see what you're saying. Consistency is important. I do agree with you. But leaving it the way kind of open-ended, we may end up with Al full-time too, and then he'll hopefully have even longer than that. But so that's my thought.
Can I?
Yeah, of course.
Sense?
Sure.
I agree. I think the idea, I'm more inclined to get rid of the interim position and start working with the permanent manager as soon as possible. I think this position holds a lot of power, as we just talked about. I think there's so much still pending to be done. Then interim, although it has all the capabilities to, effectively go forward with all of them, I just want to have consistency long-term. So for me is as soon as possible to put the position open for the permanent manager that we need, open-ended. If Brad, I don't know how that works in terms of contract, but that would be great. But I am not comfortable waiting a year to see if we can find it. I mean, the idea is that within we just saw this for a few weeks. We got 12 very qualified people come forward. So I don't think the need of a year is going to be out there. I also agree we did not actually rush the process. I don't agree with that statement. We actually took the time. We went through a strong process. And thank you, Mr. Acevedo was the other candidate that we were looking at the time. And I would want to go through the same. Maybe the difference would be at Headhunter this time. Maybe we specify which areas we are hoping to see resumes. But Mr. Sid, I'm very impressed with your resume as well, and hoping that you stay connected with us to consider you for the long term, if that's a possibility. But that's how I feel about it. I don't think it's, hopefully we get it over 3-6 months that we're, I'll, kind of suggest.
Or Manny, consider selling your house and moving to Biscayne Park, and we could get you up here for free. There's that too.
Well, you beat me to the punch, Manny. Certainly, I would be very interested to see you applying for the permanent position, because you have impeccable credentials. So I very much appreciate being here and sharing that with us. So I hope we will see you again in the future. All right. So if there's,
I want to clarify, there's almost a motion on the floor.
well,
There is a
I was coming back. You jumped out ahead of me.
Resolve whether or not there's a time frame that needs, for the purposes of the contract, can it be month to month? Does it have to be 6 months? Can we meet in the middle and say, do a 4-month and then just add months as?
There is no term on the contract. There's no term on our permanent manager's contract. Is that correct, Brad? No.
No, the contract was year to year.
Yeah. They
Subject
can
to
leave
year.
at any time. They're at will.
So
And we
it would-
can
correct.
change it at
There's-
any time.
There's termination provisions.
Sorry,
So
Brad, I can't hear you, and I would love to hear your legal opinion on this. So how long can the contract be for in an interim position?
we can draft the contract, and obviously I have to sit down and talk with Mr. Childress, but we can draft the contract so it goes continuous month to month until a permanent manager is selected and seated.
Is there a certain amount of time where we need to decide, sort of a 30-day notice, or is it immediate effect, effectively how does that work?
Yeah, well, I'll have to discuss and see what Mr. Childress wants.
Okay.
You can do it where 30 days notice. We can do it, where he walks away is effectively, I mean, assuming he's not the permanent manager, the
Yeah.
interim would walk away upon the day that the permanent
The
manager.
new
takes-
manager comes in, okay.
Yeah, we can negotiate that. We can put those, I'll speak with Mr. Childress. We'll figure out what he's seeking, and, obviously, if we'll put it before the commission. And then you all will approve it, or if we have to tweak it, we can tweak it at the meeting when you're approving the agreement.
And really,
Yeah, you
sorry,
can-
Brad,
I
can you
can
just
hear you very
back
well.
up a little bit? Sorry.
Straining, but I heard him.
Yeah, so it's the termination, how we would
There you go.
terminate the agreement upon, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, the termination of the interim position would be something that I could negotiate and discuss with Mr. Childress. We can do it where it's a 30-day notice. We can have a provision in there that essentially that the interim position is terminated upon the seating of a permanent full-time manager. I mean, we can do it several different ways. So it would just be a matter of me sitting down with Mr. Childress and coming to an agreement as to what he's comfortable with
Let them do that.
and what the village is comfortable with.
I think that's fine, Brad. You've got experience. Okay. Thank you, Brad. Any other questions before we vote on the motion? Hearing none? Okay, so the motion,
I do have one question. I want to let's hear from Mr. Childress to make sure that he's acceptable all the terms of this contract before because I would hate for them to be a discrepancy between what he's expecting and what we're offering, and then us be back to square one again. So I'd like to talk to Mr. Childress first for a second and see if he's okay with $100,000 salary, if he's okay with no benefits, if there's any requirements he would like as an interim before we get in negotiations with our attorney and be back to square one if we can't come to an agreement.
okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what Mr. Childress said.
He's,
Walking up.
has not yet started speaking.
Oh, okay, we got silent.
Go ahead, Mr. Manager.
So, I think you're all aware of what I was making at my two former city manager positions and what I bring to the table. And, I think $100,000 is, to me, is not acceptable. That's not something I can accept. I bring, I have 2 master's degrees. I bring a lot to the table. Years of experience. I've worked at 3 jurisdictions. I'm willing, as Commissioner Kennedy had talked to me, to take no vacation time, no sick time. I was willing to make some concessions, but the salary concession, I just can't do. I'm sorry.
What was the posted position? What did the ad say, Pamela?
100.
The ad was posted at $100,000 salary, no benefits for the interim position, and it stated interim.
Yeah, and usually that's negotiated. Once it's selected, it's usually negotiated for an executive position. That's what this is, and it's an executive position.
Yeah. Do you have a number in mind? Is this something, because we are here with the rest of, interests. I don't know. Maybe this is a conversation that we need to.
Yeah, I
determine.
do have a number in mind. I'll be happy to talk to each of you individually about that number.
Okay.
Well, how are we going to vote on that if we don't come?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, the position was clearly advertised 100,000 and no benefit. So the fact that you're standing here now, having gone through the process, I'm not real pleased about. I'm just going to be honest with you. You knew what you knew what we were offering.
Right, but I also came in, Commissioner, and found the amount of work it's a lot more than $100,000 worth of problems.
Mhm.
okay. And you had enough. Sure.
Put out an option. If the number that does anyone recall the number that was being bounced? before when we were talking about what is competitive, I want to say it was in the ballpark of 150, 160, somewhere in that range.
I don't think we had the conversation at a ballpark at any
We
time.
did, we touched on 150 during the budget process,
No,
growing to 150. We did.
in the budget, you put $100,000 as the salary for the manager.
Well, the idea was.
100 or
obviously-
116?
I think it was,
It was
I think it
112.
was 116 because I think we took
Oh, no,
the car benefit and we moved.
That
we
was,
took-
that was for the next fiscal, for the permanent position.
Correct, for the
yes.
permanent position. That was,
I'm sorry, for the, for
Right
this
now.
fiscal, but for the
Correct.
permanent position, not the interim position.
116. That's my recollection as well, based on some of the benefits that were flipped over
Yes.
from benefit to salary.
And not to interrupt, but Mr. Childress, you wouldn't be requiring retirement, would you? Retirement contributions?
Not as the interim, no.
So we were contributing 36,000 for Chris to that. So real number is 116 plus 36,000 for Chris. So we're getting up there in that 150 range already with those two numbers.
Let's just, if I can continue, that's a good point, that justifies the 150, I think, not only because it's a number that, I actually do remember us talking about it at some point being what would be competitive, like looking at other.
Are you talking salary base,
Yes,
160?
When we were talking about what it's going to take to bring someone the skill sets needed that we would got for years.
In a permanent capacity, in
Permanent
a permanent word, but which is not what we're discussing today.
Just for just as for argument's sake, because we are talking about something that's short
hit
term.
a mud hole for.
So let
Someone's
me,
on the-
I don't know. Can someone, maybe on the
Huh?
Zoom needs to mute, please, the microphone? Just for reference, so I did ask, our finance team to provide me with the breakdown of the salary for the permanent position. So that's what the one I have. It's 112 FRS pension 38, health insurance 18, life insurance 600, vehicle allowance about 5,000, cell phone allowance about 600, and memberships and dues come all up to 176. That's including benefits. So one thing is just the standalone salary that we've been talking about at $100,000, but with all the added benefits, it ends up being $176,000.
Al, is that in the neighborhood of what you would be seeking?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
And
so that's the thing. So the base salary, think about, we have an FRS pension of 34.52%. Health insurance, depending on the plan, obviously on your dependents, but it's around almost $19,000. And you have a premium for life insurance, cell phone, vehicle, and memberships and due. That adds up to 176.
Yes,
That's
yes.
Okay.
what a coincidence. That basically answers the question of can we fund this within our budget?
I'm sorry, Commissioner, you got to talk into your microphone. I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. On stage, they tell me to back up because I'm too
Yep.
loud. But, okay, the fact that that's the number that, Commissioner Amsler has come up with and that's in the range of what Mr. Childress was asking, I think that's a perfect
Okay.
coincidence.
Now let's project forward a little bit and look in our crystal balls. And if you're suggesting that we pay Al $176,000 as a salary now, and he gets no other benefits, then he applies to be the permanent manager and we want to hire him, then what happens? Now we're paying him $176,000 salary, and then we have to give him all the other benefits, right? I guess we don't have to, but we would. There's a full compensation package at that point of all the other things that are thrown into it. Now, all of a sudden, our budget, that means we're blowing the budget out of the water anyway, in terms of that one salary item. But then we're adding all of that back in. So then we put ourselves in a situation where then we can't afford him.
But we currently have budgeted for 112,
Right.
including all the benefits that add up to.
Not
the
112, including all the benefits, 112 plus all the benefits.
No, I mean, for the fiscal, we added 112 plus.
Right, but you said 112, including all the benefits. No, 112 plus all the benefits.
I'm talking about what's been budgeted for, not what's been advertised for.
Right.
So in
You're
our
saying the
budget-
benefits is FRS, health insurance, all those things.
Yeah.
112 does not include those. It's 112 salary plus all those are
Correct.
separate.
But I'm saying
You said included, it's not, it's plus.
includes Yeah, I'm saying it's included in the budget that
Yes.
we talked about.
Yep.
It's not obviously within the 112.
Correct.
Full salary, including benefits,
Yep.
the 176.
Correct.
All right, so that's what we budgeted for. We advertised it for 100
And no benefit.
and no benefits. So we'll be having, the longer the interim stays with us, should someone, if not, I'll accept the position, saves us money for several months. But if we were moved to hire tomorrow, we have the budget for. So in any case, if that's what the manager is willing to go for, is that a negotiation for you to go from interim to permanent position? Or is this something that this salary kind of fits within your long-term vision?
That salary fits in with my long-term, but certainly there would be
Yeah.
negotiations for a long-term contract. So the 176 that she
Yeah.
says.
So that's what I'm saying. So see if he's saying, okay, as an interim and then transitions to be the permanent manager, there will not be effect, if, to your point, at least on this year, on this budget,
Right.
to have an impact. A negotiation would have to come maybe for the
I'm
next
not
budget.
following that because if we pay him 176 as a salary now and no benefits, and let's say in February we hire him and he's saying he wants 176 salary, then we have to
No,
produce. all-
176, it's salary including the benefits.
Well, we're not talking apples to apples here. He's talking salary. And when you say salary, you mean just salary.
Yeah, and I think, Commissioner, we need to get through today and something 6 months from now. I think.
Okay, I understand that, but it impacts that. And we're not talking apples to apples here. Vero, he's saying salary. He's saying he's going to want $176,000 in salary.
So
plus
let
all the
me,
Other things.
got it,
It'd be
okay.
another
So we're talking two
$60,000
different
in
things.
benefits.
So just for the, so you and I are talking about the same column here. We currently have advertised for a position for 100 grand with no benefits. If we were to move forward, what you're suggesting would be okay.
Yes.
176,000, it's salary plus the benefits, okay? That's what we have it right now.
No,
No benefits.
no benefits at all.
No,
That's it all.
you guys didn't hear me. I said if we were moved to hire him permanently.
Oh.
We would pay 176 plus benefits. So anything, if he's interim for a while, we're saving money. That's what I'm saying. The most we
No,
can
we're not.
pay.
No, we're not. We're paying, no, we're exactly break even. Because we're budgeting 176,000 all in and we'd be giving him all of that. It just wouldn't be broken out into little chunks. It's all as
Okay.
a salary.
So
We're
176.
not saving anything.
And that's all we got, okay?
Then when we hire him permanently, it's 176 plus 60 some more
Also,
in the other thing.
that's the
That's what
same.
I'm saying.
I'm saying you're talking about 176 plus benefit. That takes us to over
Exactly my point.
$260,000.
He brought it up, yeah.
I brought it up.
He brought it up
And
because.
Is that what you're saying?
No, Commissioner, that's not what I'm saying.
Thank you. I was just
I'm-
trying to
I'm gonna-
have you
I'm gonna
clarify
say,
instead of having
At that
echo.
point, if I'm asked to be your permanent manager, I'm certainly going to negotiate a contract that's going to be favorable to myself and the village.
Yeah.
Yes. I think the 176 is favorable to myself and the village right now.
So I think the good point here is we could hire Al, not affect the budget, get through today, and we can stop playing crystal ball for 6 months from now, and we can have
Yes.
that conversation when it gets there. Al might not be our choice for the permanent
Yeah.
manager. Somebody else might.
Yeah.
Hopefully he is, in my opinion, but he might not. Let's get through tonight.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
if we can hire him and not affect the budget, 176 is the number, and if Mr. Childress, you can negotiate with our attorney and stay within our budget.
Well,
Sure.
for me, it is, I understand where you're going with this and I don't want to rush it like that. For me, it was important to hear if there is a long-term consideration of the position. If the salary expectation is 150 grand extra, it's not going to happen.
And the-
So that at least puts me in notice that you're just looking to do this for a few months and that's it.
And Commissioner, I think you know, as the
Yeah.
short time I've been here,
Yeah.
I'm looking to save every dime that there is.
Yes.
We've talked about those, the cost savings I've already identified. And I'm going to continue to do that as I sit as the interim.
Yes.
And in the last 30 days, I've saved you some money by not taking a salary. And so I'm going to continue to look at ways to save every dime I can.
I appreciate. Thank you, Al.
So just so I understand, since I have to do the negotiation.
What do you mean you didn't get that? That was
No,
quite
no,
simple.
well, I just want to make sure I understand it because I'm going to put it pen to paper. So you're going to pay Mr. Childress 176,000, 176,000 salary.
Brad, I
They-
don't know that we have, I think we have to modify the motion,
Yes.
or add to the motion before we decide on that. So just hang with us for 1 second, if you would, please.
Okay.
So are you modifying your motion? I'm sorry, then
But I
I
will.
will relinquish
will-
my motion to the vice mayor.
will want to add one more thing to this. Mr. Childress, it was very nice what you did. I might get shot down for this, but I don't like anybody working for free. He worked for almost a month for free. Could we add a 2-week sign-on bonus to whatever salary he agrees with the attorney, a 2-week sign-on bonus to compensate him for a month of work, we compensate him 2 weeks. I think that's more than fair. We worked a month for free, we pay him for 2 weeks, sign-on bonus.
but
Can I
this
respond to
doesn't
that?
need-
Yeah,
I
please.
don't want to be argumentative at all. Because I agree that I don't like people working for free either. And that happened so quickly that night. I'm like, why is he doing it for free? It was just like, that just kind of came up. I was like, okay, he's doing it for free. I'm not a big fan of that either. You pay people what they're worth and what you can afford when it all matches. That being said, when people make an agreement to things and people apply for something knowing what it's going to be, I'd like to follow those procedures. He said he's going to do it for free. I think we say thank you and give him the job. He offered to do that for us. And when people apply for a job that's advertised at a salary and they know that, they should be prepared to accept it when it's offered to them.
We went through a similar situation with the last manager, and like 3 months into his role, we gave him an increase in his salary, unsolicited. I don't feel comfortable sort of for the same reasons if it's been
No,
discussed.
I
and you-
had agreed to do it
Yeah,
at pro bono for that 30 days, and I'm fine with that. I appreciate the offer, Vice Mayor, but I'm fine with that.
and again, it doesn't mean that the value is zero that you bring, and
Exactly.
absolutely not. And it's just the generosity that you put forward, and I find very honorable and very thankful for. And the villages, it's saving money to the village. So I'm willing to just to keep things as we agreed. Yeah.
And just to dovetail one thing real quickly, and I want to say again, I don't like the $0 value either, because when you don't pay someone, it looks like there's no value. And he brought enormous value. Clearly, we're going to give him the gig.
Yeah.
Last time around, 3 months in, we gave the manager what it came to a 15% pay increase. One meeting just like that on a whim. I didn't vote for it. Vero, I think you didn't either. And that was a year ago this month. And here we sit hiring an interim manager. So what did it get us? You put things out, people apply, they know what's going on, they accept it. There could be some negotiation on some things, but I'm not comfortable taking it from a $100,000 package that was advertised that all of these people applied to. They all knew they were coming in to get a $100,000 a year position. And now all of a sudden we pick someone and almost double it. I'm not comfortable with that. It's an interim thing. He knows he knows it's until we hire someone, and we're going to do our job and hire someone. And at that point, we're going to have to advertise the position and have a conversation about the compensation for the position. And clearly, I think we're all in agreement that that needs to be looked at. And we did put extra money in it, and we know there are other places in the budget we can pull from. And I think we all know we need to do better to get better. But that's for the permanent position. Al applied for a position that was advertised like these other gentlemen did.
So Vice Mayor, back to your motion, because I relinquished the motion to you. Are you revising it or adding to it?
Make a motion to hire Al Childress as the interim manager at salary to be negotiated with our attorney.
Or do we have parameters?
Yeah, this is
A salary to be negotiated with our attorney to stay within our current budget all-in number.
So up to
176, whatever the number Vera was.
no benefits.
But no benefits.
So that, just so we're clear, that doesn't have to be part of the resolution. That's just guidance you're giving me. You're going to ultimately
Okay,
approve a contract for the interim manager. So the resolution only has to be to appoint the interim manager. The conversation with regards to salary, I mean, unfortunately, because you're a governmental entity and we have sunshine laws, there's no way for me to get guidance from you as to what to negotiate without you all having a public meeting and giving me parameters. So
Yeah, that's I think what we were trying to effectuate.
No, I
Because
understand.
if it comes
So
back and
just-
and we don't approve the contract, then we're back at square one looking for another interim.
And
Right.
that's why the parameter that Brad is asking, it's needed. I mean, our top in this case is what we approved in the budget. We can just go higher than that, and that includes benefits and all. So for us, it's whatever number we have put in the budget, that's the maximum we can go to this year. That's it.
Okay, so
Well,
I,
and I'm going to say it again. There's a number that was put in an ad that we placed out there that everyone applied to. 12 people applied for it,
Mhm.
including other people who are sitting in the room asking for the job. So
Yeah. No,
Okay,
I understand. I
I-
understand.
I know your motion is pending. Al, I want
Yeah.
you here and I,
I'm sorry, before we move into finishing with, on that point, that's important. I mean, there is another candidate as well, and we haven't even talked about budget and what impact that could have for the village as well. Do we want to have the conversation with Mr. Sid as well?
the conversation of,
Related to salary, or are we ready to go and increase the salary? I mean, from 100 that we have right now to 6 months, maybe a year, I heard, to 176 and just go for the full budget that we have? Or do we discuss the budget and, to another qualified applicant and see what sort of number? I mean, we put it, to your point again, we put the offer out there for 100 grand. And so we haven't had the chance to discuss with Mr. Childress until today. And that's why this taken back and forth. I mean, we have to do it this way, unfortunately. But Mr. Sid also has a qualified
brings up a good,
resume, and it's another thing. Maybe we can just have a conversation. I'm saying we can bring him over and have a.
look, if we're just, let's just kind of call it what it is, I seconded the motion. I would absolutely vote right now to hire Al Childress for this job. But if a contract comes back to us, it would be a contract coming back to us for approval, correct, Brad?
yes,
And it's for $176,000 salary. I'm going to vote no to that because that's not what we intended this to be. I'm just letting you guys know. We don't have to argue back and forth anymore. I'm telling you, I'm a yes to hire him. And when a contract comes back at 176, I'm going to be a no. If you have enough yeses, it doesn't matter that I'm a no. So you guys figure that out.
Mhm.
But there's another
Well-
gentleman sitting right here who got up and spoke with us, and I think we're all kind of impressed with him. And were you under the understanding that it was $100,000 as annualized salary in an interim capacity?
yeah, if you wouldn't mind. Thank you. Thanks, Al.
so at this
We
point,
have
if
a
you're gonna,
motion on the floor.
yes,
Table
so
motion.
somebody would
Yeah.
need to make a motion, an intervening motion.
All
to
right,
table-
motion to
the
table the vice
motion.
mayor's motion.
Okay, and is.
Second that. You looking for a second?
Yeah, I was looking for a second.
Second.
and you have
Okay, all in favor?
consensus.
Aye. Okay, that's three.
Okay.
So, Mr. Sid, you've obviously heard the conversation. And I think the question that was pending, sort of, is Commissioner Kennedy's question about your understanding of what the interim job was being advertised at for salary.
Yes.
And
I saw the advertisement and I applied.
And it's is it your, I guess, intention and your representation of the commission that you would be willing to take it for that amount?
Yes.
Any other questions for Mr. Sid while we have him up here?
Oh, that was one of the questions that I straight up asked you, and it said, I know we don't pay compared to other cities. I mean, you've been exposed to Miami Lakes and, to the county. You know what the pay is around, and we don't have that. So, and one of the things that impressed me was the fact that he mentioned that was not an issue. I mean, it's more about gaining the experience that you want and put it in action. So I thought that was a good balance for us at the time.
Manny, can I do a follow-up question, please? This is an interim, this is an interim position, and you're saying you would do it for an amount that annualizes to $100,000. How long would you be willing to do it? Because we wouldn't want you to leave, we're still, we're not ready to replace you in 3 months and you take off. How long are you prepared to commit to this position at that rate?
I'd work at the will of the council.
I mean, are you saying you would be here for a year if we needed you to be here for a year at that rate?
Yes.
I just want to say, with respect to Mr. Sid, I understand that, and he came here for $100,000, but you pay for experience, you pay for education. I did a Excel spreadsheet of every candidate we have. There's only one candidate on that list that has 2 masters from a prestigious universities. There's only one candidate on the list who has 9 years of experience in the current position we're talking about. So for me, I understand, and I'm glad you accept the job at $100,000. For me, we pay for experience, we pay for that on-the-job knowledge, so, and education.
Second that emotion.
Thank you, Mr. Sid. Appreciate it. All right. So then are you renewing your motion?
Will renew my motion to appoint Al Childress as the interim manager.
I second.
Okay. Al, I will say, I also want you here. I share a little bit of the uncomfort of moving up so drastically. I would have no problem moving up, but it is a drastic move, so I'm a little uncomfortable with it. But as far as the negotiation of the contract comes back, we'll wait to see what it says. We have a second, so we'll go ahead and get a consensus on the motion that's on the table. So do we have a consensus?
Vote, and I want to put my comments.
Sure, sure.
So same, I feel the same way. I think, we're put in the situation, it's very tight. Our budget, we've been like scratching $500, moving it to every corner, and here we are, right? It can go very quickly, very high. And so I am very comfortable, Al, to have you for interim manager and stay with us at a manageable budget, within the structure of our budget. How is that going to look when it comes back? We'll see. The numbers that I gave and I was kind of voicing over, I received from finance from Cheryl. Cheryl is her name? Yeah. Yeah, thank you. And she was kind enough to break it down from benefits to salary and all of that. So I think I'm inclined to say the same. We'll kind of wait and see. But Mr. Sid, I appreciate your candor and being straightforward onto what the value that you would bring means for you, because you're just trying to get the experience on the ground, and that for you, definitely has a price as well. But you're willing to collaborate with us. So long term, as a position, as we're considering long term this position as well, I hope you stay with us.
Can I throw something else out there? This just occurred to me, and I don't know if you can do this or if Brad would advise us against it. We budgeted this position at $112,000, and the position has been empty for a month. We're now like 5 weeks into an empty position. So if you take 112,000 and you divide it by 52 weeks, that's 2153 a week, and it's been empty for have been empty for 6 weeks. Al, by doing it for free, just saved us almost $13,000. So that's actual money in our hands that we could spend to sweeten it somewhat, that we didn't spend because we got them for free. So how would we use, let's just call it $13,000 as an even number. We didn't spend that money in the past 6 weeks. How could we use that to sweeten the deal for Al over maybe the course of, like, say we'll split that across the first 3 months and guarantee that as a payout to him, even if we filled the position?
I think that, just to go back to what Brad asked of us, he was to give me a range and that the negotiations happen. I think, to your point, that is a bucket of negotiation to be discussed. But the maximum is what we have approved. We can go higher than that. So with that said, let's have a conversation, knowing that we can't pay any more than the 176 all in. And then, whether it is using that as a part of that benefit or as a saving, because part of not having them having a saving is important for us as well. Reason why we were very happy to hear a pro bono sort of a position. That could be it. So I think it's to Brad, I would just keep it open. That's the top that we can go, and then use that bonus to negotiate.
Again, if we're going to vote on this now, I'm going to vote yes on hiring Al. And if a contract comes back here,
Look,
that's not what what it was advertised for and what he knew he was applying for, I'm going to be a no. But you probably have 3 yeses up here, so we'll see what happens.
Very quickly, because I know we're kind of knocking on the door here, but just to put some perspective on the numbers, am I the only finance guy here by trade?
Are you doing a pivot table?
I'm not doing a pivot.
I don't even know
table.
what a pivot
I'm
table is.
beyond pivot table.
You see it up at the top.
I'm in
of the-
Power.
This is an Excel sheet.
I'm in Power Query and SQL now, brother. In fact, using Excel for me almost feels like I went back to high school or something. But it's Excel. It's great. It's awesome. It's a great tool. So Al's ask currently is essentially what's in the budget, which is around 14.5 a month, 175,000. I'm just going to use nice round numbers. The budget, 100,000. The difference, obviously, 75 grand. It's a difference of about 6,000 a month. We've saved twice that already, to Commissioner Kennedy's point. One idea that I had was to split the difference. That would take the monthly payment from, the monthly salary from 14,500 to 11,500. But then the other thought, the other way to view this was, I really want to say that when we looked around, we were talking numbers in the 140, 150 range. And with a 40% G&A markup, G&A being like your benefits, your retirement, all that stuff, it's usually right around 40%, give or take a few percentage points. Numbers that were floating around earlier were closer to 50 to go from 116 to 175. But maybe we have higher G&A costs, whatever. But if we were to get down to 140,000, which I thought was in the ballpark of what we consider a market rate, that's going to come out to more than the 170. So this is money that we're going to have to find anyway, right? In order to do what we said we were going to do, which was to find someone competitive who can stick around for a long time. So even at the amount that we're asking now, if we were to take the position to 140, which is I think in the ballpark, heck, if I went down to 130, are we still saving money? Yes.
Talking about the permanent position, right?
I'm talking about if the permanent position with a 40% G&A markup went
Yep,
down to
yep.
130, that's 15,000. God, better glasses. All right, these are the blue light blockers. These are stronger. 15,200 per month, and current ask from Al at that number is 14,500. So it would still be a money saver. I don't know if I want to be in the village if we're going to go and pay 120 again. You know, let's pay for experience and pay for, you know, let's get what you pay for, right? You know, I think there's good money spent here. So just to put that in perspective, we're still below where we would be on a long-term basis. And that's, I think the 130 is low. I think we're going to wind up probably, when we look at the available candidates over the next few months, I'm guessing 140, 150 might be. And at which point that gives us time to consider is the difference between what we're seeing there from other candidates and what Al is asking potentially long-term or what anyone else is asking long-term. You know, Manny might come to his senses and realize he's worth a lot more than 100,000 a year. I think he is. So that gives us more time, but at least in the short term, it gets us through tonight to have that comfort of knowing we are still within where we're going to be anyway, right?
What's the
And-
number?
The number of what he's asking is ballpark 14,500 a month,
Mhm.
which is lower than if we were paying a full-time person 130,000 a year and paying for their retirement and their whatever, DNA, medical, healthcare, all that stuff. So I have comfort in those numbers. Plus, to Commissioner Huntington's point, get what you pay for sometimes. And look, it's like a few years ago, or 10 years ago, in the Bernard era, we were talking about, wouldn't it be great to take some of these houses that are on foreclosure, have some of our police force actually living here so that they had skin in the game, so that they were around during hurricanes, so that they were around, you know. When there's a crisis, he's 3 blocks away. I mean, it's just such it's such a nice bonus to have that he's a resident. He has skin in the game.
Mhm.
You know, it's his village too. So that's my 2 cents. Okay, so I think numbers wise, I hope I've put some peace of mind for tonight, but we'll see.
So what are we telling Brad for him to use for negotiation?
Obviously, we don't want to go above the budget. And
But
the
the
budget right now is 176, if that's the number I'm being told,
All included.
all included. And I think, and when I already asked Mr. Childress earlier, or Al, sorry, being so formal, if that was in the range, and he said yes. So I feel like if he's saying yes to that number, we're good.
Then that's it. So we come to the same, which is, it's what the budget currently has been approved for.
The motion remains unchanged and it has been seconded, so we'll ask for a majority vote.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes,
Thank you, Mr.
you.
Childress.
we got there.
I look forward to have that contract. Yes.
Since this might be my last meeting, can I say one last thing? A resident who I know well came to me with a concern, and since Police Chief Steele is here, we can't bring up things that are on the agenda. I would just say, I'll do a bill check. Do your job. That's it.
All right, so we've concluded with the selection of the interim, but I very quickly want to have us talk about the procedure for the selection of how we see the timelines for the permanent. And this is for you, Madam Clerk. Now, I know what we've done in the past is we've kind of dictated that, or requested, not dictated, excuse me, that we put out the advertisement on all the normal channels, just to start getting some feelers as to what we might be getting in response and start collecting resumes. So do we want to talk about at least that portion tonight to get things started? Advertising the open position for the permanent manager, because I'd like us to at least get started, put a timeline on that.
Yes.
So we can open the door for resumes and close the door for resumes so we can start reviewing.
If we start sooner rather than later, which I support, I wouldn't want to close the door until a significant amount of time
I agree.
post-holiday,
Okay.
like
Can I say,
like third week of January or something.
are we
Yeah.
considering doing this through a headhunter this time versus what we did before? The last time we went ahead and just asked, just like this time, we asked for resumes. And I think it's worth considering having a professional go and look for the right fit for us. And I'll be willing to put some money against that. This should be something that we all agree, whether the type of experience it has to be, so that we don't get people from out of state. That's what the majority decides we need to go for. Experience, anything that we want to sort of use as a filter to help us get to the right person sooner, instead of us doing, again, the work of interviewing after, over and over, which it's fine. We can do that, but we need someone to give us a good filter of people and a good pool of people that we can screen as a second screening process, not the first. I think that's what I would do different than the first round.
Commissioner, if I will, to your point, that's a very good point. The village manager also advised us that could be a conflict of interest if we allow him to apply for the permanent position. We need that outside vendor, that outside firm to guide us through that process. So that way there's no ill propriety when it comes to him reviewing resumes and things like that. So
Well, I don't think
This is-
no one reviewed them.
No.
We get all the resumes, and
Yeah.
it's really Pamela's job.
So there is no filtering from the manager. Everything that came in
it- it-
before.
The manager
Right.
never received,
Just
any of these resumes.
No.
They all went through my office. I looked at them, I sent them to you.
And they're
So-
shared with us. But I'm with you. I mean, for me, it's a professional that we need this time around. And I just will feel very comfortable that I am, and we're not just missing any sort of check, on any boxes. I would want someone to do that for us if we're all clear on what that's going to be. So that's a
Can we do
conversation.
both? Can we get the
So,
ads up and just get that process started and talk separately about that person being the filter?
And
Well,
that would defeat the purpose of having a headhunter.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
So, yes, to try to clarify all this, you have two processes. You can do this on your own, like you were talking about. If you were to hire a headhunter, you will sit down with the headhunter. You will tell them what you're looking for with regards to a candidate. They will do your advertising for you. They will vet applicants to determine whether or not they fit the criteria you're looking for. And then they will present you with qualified applicants, but they essentially will do the initial vetting. And they will give you as many applicants as you ask for. If you say you want 10, they'll vet the top 10 that they receive and present them to you, or whatever amount you choose. But it does not make sense, in my humble opinion, for you to advertise the position now and then also have a headhunter or somebody else. I guess you could create, to that point, it would make no sense to hire a headhunter once you advertise the position. If you're going to do something like that, then what you could do is you could advertise the position through the village without using a headhunter and try to come up with some type of a formal committee that reviews those applications, whether it be somebody from a professional association or from any other source, and have them do an evaluation of those applications and make a recommendation of whatever number the commission wants of applicants for you all to consider and talk to and then interview publicly. So it really kind of is how it's really your process, how you want to do it, but I wouldn't suggest publishing and then going out and getting a headhunter. And
So
I
it
think,
sounds to me then like if
I'm not sure I understand that, Brad, because I'm trying to understand that. Because if, let's just say we put an ad out tomorrow and we got 50 applicants by next week and we hired a headhunter, that pool of applicants goes to the headhunter and we've just given them a starting pool of people to look at because they're still doing their job of reviewing and interviewing and da, 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 da. But I mean, I don't see what it hurts. What do we pay to put these ads out? It's kind of a negligible fee, isn't it?
We didn't pay anything for this.
Yeah, so it's free. So what's it hurt to see look what we got by putting, it's the same places, some of the same places we advertised for this interim. And we got some people that we like. So I don't understand.
As long as
We're
it
not
is
obligated to
reviewed.
anybody.
If it's
Well, you're
reviewed
not-
by the headhunter.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, still let the headhunter do her or his job, but why not start getting a pool of candidates? I was kind of impressed with what we got kind of quickly. I'm
No,
I'm agreeing with both. I'm like,
Uh,
let's get someone here to help us, but I don't see the harm in putting free ads out and see what we get. We're not obligated to any timeline, to any candidate, to anything. Why not just see what's out there?
you're not, I mean, I haven't seen it done that way. If that's the commission's desire, you can certainly do that. You set the process.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think we've had success, and I don't want to narrow the field too small either. I don't want to be too narrow in what we're getting back. I think there's a lot of benefit to having someone with some experience look at the candidates for us and help.
Especially and this sort of a role within government. It wouldn't be a headhunter for any jobs in corporate. You know, it's specific to government, people that work with government, that have the contacts, know where to post it. All the work is kind of done by them. I think there is value to that
Yeah, I
this time.
I agree with you. I still think our traditional, well, that would be the next step too, is we'd have to start getting someone to do that. But I think traditional channels such as the Managers Association has been very helpful. The League of Cities has been very helpful. You know, the people that are reviewing those boards, you know, are people with relevant experience too. So I don't want to narrow the field too much and maybe miss out on.
And we found managers in the past that the village was quite happy with through those traditional channels as well.
But what if we were to do this then? What if we agree to get started with the advertisement through those channels? And then I don't know what the process, we'd have to maybe, I guess, Al, if that's something that you would bring to us, a headhunter that you think would be, you know, well suited for the role. And then we could discuss if we like that individual, and that we would give you the authority to go ahead and bring them in, and then the clerk could give them the resumes and they could get started.
Yep.
So maybe that's how we start it. Maybe we start the advertisements. And do we want to talk about, I guess, as soon as is practical for the clerk? And what do we want to do how long do we want to hold that open for? I know, Mac, you suggested at least through,
After the holidays, I mean, we have 2 big holidays, 3 holidays coming up, 4, 5.
Then, so
January.
people there are, so I don't know how
Yes.
that works, but I think about people that are interested on a job and their interest this month. I don't know if we're gonna hold them until January. You know what I'm saying? So you have you're searching for a person for 2 months. These people are usually searching for a job, so we get the possibility of losing them too. So I think I feel more comfortable opening it, and closing it maybe closer to the holidays, to your point, maybe right before the
Could we
holiday.
open it afterwards if we wanted to?
If we don't have
Or if
anything.
or if the headhunter advised us to, or.
Yeah, and
To me, I don't disagree with if we want to go through our own process, but it just seems messy to open it now, to then close it and open it again. And you're, like you said, we're going to keep someone on the hook who they applied now, and we're not going to make decisions till January. If we're bringing in a headhunter, that's going to take time to review contracts and approve it. I say if that's our intention, let's get this headhunter, let's get quotes, get a contract, and then we establish a formal process. But to instruct the clerk to open it up immediately, and then
Yeah.
we now have a contract on in front of us, it's going to take months before we get that contract and we
no,
approve it.
obviously it's not immediately, but and I think to your point, I would put this also as a recommendation of the headhunter. I mean, this is, Al, maybe someone to contact and say, okay, based on your expertise, it's recommended 2 months for this sort of position, you can consider less. I don't know that. And we're just guessing here. So I think someone with the expertise and searching for this role will know, especially around the holidays.
Just a couple of quick thoughts to add to that. In terms of the process, I agree, we do want an external view, so we should be looking at options for headhunters. Maybe there's one or two that specialize in civic government.
Mhm.
I assume that back in the old days, that they don't require exclusivity agreements, so we can run that process in parallel with something that we post internally. But either way, I do think that before we put the cart before the horse, we have to, or you guys as a commission have to revisit the budget so that when you post a number, you have faith in the number's budgeted, et cetera, et cetera. So
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to be able to post anything anytime soon because that's going to have to be at the next commission meeting if it's even on the agenda, right?
Yeah.
You might not even get a number until December,
Yeah,
right? Because-
exactly.
So if you don't have the number till December, you really don't.
We might not even have the professional or any.
But I would add that the holidays are when a lot of people are taking time off.
Yes.
Some of them might be finding out their job's been eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
The holidays is when people will be looking. Should really, really, really
Yeah.
try to get a number at the next commission meetings that we can get that stuff out there so that people who are taking time off for the holidays, you see where I'm going.
You're making us another special commission. I see where you're going. Now,
Won't be here for it.
you're done. I know. No, so, but I agree. We have to, I think this is the right timing for that. Yeah.
So would you like the clerk and I to look for headhunters so that
Yes.
Mr. Childress is not part of the selection process, who's going to be ultimately evaluating his application?
Yeah, Brad, I think it sounds to me like that's the request of the commission is for you and the clerk to get together and start looking for some headhunters. If you could please do that. Sorry.
That's fine.
So, in that case, if we, I mean,
Looking at my calendar, Thanksgiving's late this year.
yeah, it is.
Tonight, we're 3 weeks from Thanksgiving. And then after that, it's 4 weeks till Christmas and New Year's right after. Nice time in there for people. And remember, we're not obligated to anybody for anything, no timeline. It's all the cards are in our hands. So, we can post ads and we can get applicants and Pamela can send them to us and we can look at them and we can say, hey, we need to talk about somebody real quickly, or, we don't have to tie our hands here in any way at all. There's no harm and zero cost in putting ads out there while we look for a headhunter and see what happens. And some of these people, I'm sorry, I wanted to go back to say something about something you said. Some of these people are looking for jobs for years. That's why we got that list of managers in transition. Because some of those people, that it's such a specialized field, they're looking for years to find the right next gig. So it's not like, we're going to lose someone this month. We could possibly, but by extending it, you also then scoop up more people. So
I don't
somewhere to
agree
go
in the long term, just like no deadline for this. We need to have a deadline.
we need to close it at some point, but I would just do it after the holidays.
Madam Clerk?
No, I was just gonna say, when you put a closing date on the advertisement, a person who's looking for a job knows that you're not gonna start interviewing until after that closing date. So they won't apply if they're looking for something tomorrow.
But so then when, do we have an idea as to when will be the first review? Like what sort of a direction are we giving this headhunter? When is our review deadline? We can't just be like, oh, we have 2 resumes. I saw one. Let's talk about him.
Oh, I
Oh,
think
well,
what
I
we
could-
do is when we find, these are two parallel things. One is get the ad out, just start getting stuff in, put a deadline just for argument's sake after the second week of January. And when we talk to headhunters, they know, oh, they already started a process. I'm going to be getting a pile of resumes to start with. They might say, great, I got some
I
resumes to look at.
understand. So you're saying mid-January is a deadline to review
Yeah.
the first resumes?
Oh, to hand them off to a headhunter that we would have found by then. We can also look at them. There's nothing, says we can't look at them. They're public documents, but anybody could look at them for that matter. But in the meantime, we find a headhunter. We may not find one, also. We're assuming they're out there waiting to work for us. I hope they are. And hand it off to that person. That's where I stand. You guys decide.
Mac, worst case,
We're going to talk in a circle around this for another hour.
worst case scenario, Indeed.com does have a white glove service.
But to John's point, if we're going to start the advertisement right away, we need a number. what would we be
We need
be
to have
adver-
that conversation that it's not gonna happen
Well,
today.
that's, but
Yeah.
that's, that's what I mean. That's to his point. He said, are we going to launch into the budget
not
conversation of what
today.
we're advertising it at? Because she can't run the advertisement until we come up with a number.
You can say, is there harm in saying it's $176,000 all in package? Just give the total value of the package.
That number would imply,
It's salary, health, FRS, it's all of one. Just give an all-in number, and that gives us lots of room to do stuff. Because some people will apply and say, yeah, the all-in amount is great, but I don't need health insurance. And we can say, great, then we'll give it to you in extra salary, you know?
So the idea then, and this is just kind of what he's trying to understand, the advertisement would say 100, hypothetically, 176,000
Full comp-
benefit, dollar benefit of benefit, of
value-
dollar value of benefits included in this number.
compensation package valued at $176,000.
Let's-
Everybody is gonna come a starting point for negotiation, 176.
but that,
Says
but,
all in,
okay,
all
that's,
total compensation package.
that's not, if I
But
may,
the-
that's
Fine.
not how jobs are typically
No.
posted.
No.
Typically posted with a salary and the G&A is
range.
implied. To get to where we're at right now, the market, I mean, assuming a 40% G&A, the numbers I heard tonight were closer to 50, probably because of retirement or something, but let's just assume 40% G&A. You'd be putting out a position at $125,000. Do we really think that's competitive to keep someone here for 3 years, 5 years? I don't think so.
I mean, we just talked to Mr. Sid and he said he would.
To be clear, that was for an interim position with no other benefits, just to be clear.
no, he said,
No,
he said no to 100. I mean, he said yes to 100.
He said yes to 100, that's what I'm saying.
In the interim, right. So I don't know if 125 is a number that you guys believe tonight is good enough to post. I mean,
Look, and here's, again, we're not obligating ourselves to anything. We put an ad out tomorrow that says 125 plus other, other benefits. We can put the ad out again and change it. We can talk about it and change it. There's no harm in doing anything. It doesn't cost us anything. It doesn't tie our hands. It doesn't obligate us to a person or a date or a nothing. It's just
Can
getting
we
it out there.
The perspective of a professional as a headhunter also to determine the salary range? I mean, usually these are the people that talk to, this.
Right.
To interest candidates, and they know the scope and they know the sizes of the cities. I mean, this is what they do. They will come with a suggestion and say, you would not find what you're asking. It's like going for a realtor and asking for a $2 million house for $300,000.
on the water and 300,000.
And you want it all, and it's not going to work out. So you hope that someone gives you
Right.
that reality check.
I agree. The headhunter will definitely provide some guidance there. But they will also probably say things like you can post a range.
Yes.
They will also say things like you will get what you pay for.
Yeah.
So we could put a range of 125 to 175 and give us time to look at a candidate pool and then make budgetary decisions around that. How much do we want to spend that extra money?
I think we're getting ahead of ourselves.
We are definitely way over.
We,
our skis.
we need to pass today.
Yeah.
And I think to the recommendation of 3 to 6 months minimum of the interim manager sitting, we'll have time to go and find a headhunter, have a first review of what the benefits should look like. And based on that, put a post out there. It might not be until January, maybe February. So
So just to put some dates here, we would want to have some options on the headhunters by, say, the December meeting. Does that give us time?
Well, it's not happening by next week, that's for sure.
is it
It's not going to happen by,
is it something doable to find someone as a headhunter to help us out?
just to have some things to talk about.
Yeah.
Is it realistic that this commission would start wanting to discuss no, because you would, like, to your point, you would want to hear some feedback from the headhunter before you start
Exactly.
posting a range.
Exactly.
So it's going to take a few weeks, even during the holidays, right, to talk to this person to come up with a range, which means you're probably not posting until later in December. Do you need to have a commission meeting to make the posting approval, or who would approve the posting?
We'll have to have that
We would-
discussion,
we
probably a
would have to have
special
a commission
commission
meeting.
meeting.
So you're
or
probably approving the posting at the January meeting.
Maybe, yeah. And you have it open for what, a couple months, we said? So yeah, it's going to take a while. This is the thing that we don't want to rush.
Yeah, Commissioner, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that we need experts. We need
Yeah.
headhunters. What I'm hearing here is we're making this up as we go along. And
Yeah.
that's not the way government should run. I think we need to bring in experts, bring in options for headhunters, select one, hear from them, let them hear from the podium and have a conversation of, yeah, this is what your salary should be. If you want that kind of experience, this is what you're going to draw, and do this process right. I think rushing to a posting that we're going to leave open-ended is just tantamount to wasting people's time if we
Right.
don't listen to experts. We're not experts. I'm not an expert in HR. I don't think you are either. None of us have hired a million of these executive positions. These headhunters have.
Very particular field,
The attorney,
you know, and
the attorney has his hand raised.
Brad?
Yeah, we'll try to have, and Pamela, I'm speaking for you as well, but we'll try to have some information by the December meeting about a headhunter or headhunter services so that you'll have some direction.
great. Done, check.
That's it.
Well, then it sounds like the direction Brad and Madam Clerk will be to bring us some options for headhunters by no later. Hopefully, I'm going to say no later than December because I hate to put a deadline up, but I personally don't want it to be any later than that. I mean, I'm more inclined to the open advertisement. I think that we can sort through these. I mean, we've done it before, and I would love to get it started, but this is the direction, and this is the majority, and I'm comfortable with that. So that's the idea. Okay, so that's the next step in our search. We resolved our interim. I don't think we have any more business unless anyone wants to discuss anything now. Otherwise, I will be asking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, everyone that's on Zoom that was with us. We're down a few people, but thank you.